All right, episode 5 of Winning Time. The rise of the Lakers Dynasty. Pieces of Man is over, and we're here to talk about it. I'm Jose Salviati, editor at the Peach Basket, and I lived through the 80s Showtime Lakers.
And I'm Evan Moore. I have a Twitter following at morehoops727, and I'm also a contributor for Peach Basket. And I also lived through the Lakers era, and it's just us old guys tonight.
I was going to just say the same thing. We're missing Derek. We're missing Akeem. I hope all is well with both of you. We definitely, appreciate what you all bring to this. But it's kind of appropriate, I think, maybe in a way, Evan, that it's you and I, because this was not only an era that we lived through, but these are games that we saw, replayed today that we saw, we saw live. I remember that San Diego Clippers game. We brought it up on earlier shows. So it was pretty neat to watch that, come to life again. So yeah, it's just us, which I think is good, but it's also you. We hope that you're watching. We hope you're listening, and we want this to be as interactive as possible. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you think. If you're joining us on Twitter, unfortunately, we can't take any comments there. Please head over to Facebook. You can look for us at the Peach Basket 2021 or YouTube. Search for the Peach Basket. You'll find us. Leave your comments, questions, or thoughts there on what was a really powerful episode. We really honestly would love to hear from you. In episode 5, the focus was on Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. We learned about his upbringing, his passion, and a little bit about why he was so standoffish. Chick and Pat Riley made inroads in their partnership, and Dr. Jerry Buss, the perfectionist, gets a first look at Showtime on the court and in the Forum Club as the Lakers get off to a great start. Then the episode finishes with tragedy, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that in this recap. But first, Evan, I'm going to give it to you first. What were your thoughts on kind of a powerful episode 5?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode again. It was nice to finally get the focus around Kareem.
Yeah.
And, I really liked the way it started, and it starts with him making the name change, everything like that, because, for me, like, I knew him as Kareem, so like, I don't think I found out about his first name, Lou Alcindor, until I was probably, like probably like in high school somewhere. So yeah, I didn't, I had no idea about that. And like, so it was really cool that they started it with that, because, that was a huge controversial thing for a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people really did not like him changing his name. And that is why he took a lot of heat and a lot of hate, and also kind of why he was a little grumpy about it too, because he felt like he was doing something, that he felt in his heart, and he felt like the world was rejecting him a lot. And like, I really kind of liked how this episode delved into that, and him, like, even, going and talking to someone in the church,
Yeah.
or I don't know if I should be calling it the church, the Nation of Islam. That's probably
Moss?
my apologies to any Islamics out there. I'm not as educated in that. So, but anyway, I really liked that, how he was questioning his faith, and bring that up, and that that was really cool, because I think that's a growth process that all men go through, that a lot of
100%.
people
Yeah.
don't really think about or talk about. And we just kind of view people kind of two-dimensionally, and it's just neat to see those things of what makes a man, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that. And then Spencer Haywood was really interesting. That trade, a lot of Laker fans consider that trade, just because of how it turned out, as one of the worst trades ever, because we gave up Adrian Dantley for that. And Spencer was a great player, but Spencer had a lot of
Right.
problems that haven't quite been revealed yet, that we will
Right.
get to.
Yeah. One interesting thing about Spencer Haywood that I think people are going to be Googling is about the self-surgery aspect. Do you remember that
Yeah.
scene?
Yeah.
Like that can't be real. I haven't Googled it yet. I'm kind of scared to see what comes up. But wow, that's an interesting
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. And I mean, what a scene too. Of like,
What a
this what you're
scene.
looking for?
And then Coop goes, "It's swinging, it's swinging." I think it was Coop. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was intense. But yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just
oh, no
that
problem.
stuck with me.
No problem. And then the other scene that I got a big laugh out of was Chick talking with Pat Riley and about like, the fist, and like when you hear the fist when you see the fist, be
Yeah,
quiet. And then like the what killed me was his quote of, you'll feel it when you get fisted.
yeah. And Pat Riley goes, I feel it.
Yeah,
I feel it
feel
already.
it now. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, that is Chick in a lot of
Yeah,
ways. It's like,
yeah,
he was that guy.
yeah.
He was a little a
And
little
that's something
crass
I
at
knew
times.
about Chick. I mean, huge fan of Chick Hearn. I actually watched a couple of games of his that he announced just to kind of get into the vibe, into the era. And he's amazing. There was nobody like him. He was unbelievable. But I had heard, yeah, that it was really hard for the color commentators to just get a word in edgewise, man. And that just rang true to me. That
Yeah.
that chick would fist Pat Riley with apologies. For, that's the way they put it, man. That's just the way it was. Yeah. All right. So I want to call out one thing before we're joined by Derek, who I'm glad to say, was made it, and
Oh, great.
great to hear his perspective here in a minute. But this was called Pieces of Man, and when I saw that, I just thought, okay, we're diving into Kareem, and every man, every woman, every human is made up of a bunch of different pieces. We pick up a little here, a little there. That's how I interpreted it. But I said to you, Evan, before we jumped on the call here, that I thought this was kind of a multi-layer thing. There's kind of an onion. There's a very, very deep. And you pointed out that Pieces of Man was specific. It had a meaning that I didn't know about. If you could share that.
Yeah, that's an album by Gil Scott Heron, and it was, a very important and powerful album for the civil rights movement. It was, he had a lot of stuff to say about um, America and
Mm.
about the situation of Black people at the time. And so, yeah, that album is very tied into really who Kareem is as a person in a lot of ways. So, and if you watch the little things at the end where Rick Fox is talking to some of the people, he actually had one of the, I can't remember if he was a writer or a showrunner, but he was talking with him, and he was talking how he specifically, used that, with Gil Scott Heron in mind, and the tie-in, specifically because of Kareem. And so, yeah, I thought that was really cool. Like,
Yeah.
he's a little before my time, but I do really enjoy his music, and I'm familiar with that album, and yeah, it was really cool.
And there was another album, I guess. If it wasn't a song on that one, The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. That's something
Yes,
else you
that
called
is.
out.
Sorry, yes, that is a song on that album as
There
well.
you
The
go.
revolution will not be televised, and that's a quote, as well as a song that a lot of our generation, I'm sure, is familiar with. They probably don't necessarily know Gil Scott Heron, but I'm sure they've heard that quote before,
Yeah, I
and
know
that's
I
where it
have.
comes from.
Yeah, I know I have. Wow. All right. Great. Great overview. You have what I thought was a really powerful episode. We'll bring in Derek now to get his thoughts.
Hey,
Derek,
good to see you.
apologies
Hey,
for starting without you, man, but we're glad you're here. Thank you.
yeah, no, thank you guys for having me.
100%. And I hope you got a chance to watch it.
I
We'd
did.
love to get
Yeah,
your thoughts on this thing.
yeah.
What'd you think about episode 5?
I thought I've been saying it almost. I feel like for the last 2-3 weeks that I'm waiting for a Kareem episode
Yeah.
because quite frankly, I feel like Kareem gets he's so undervalued. I think now, as I think as like the GO conversation gets more and more as we dig into it deeper and deeper, I think a lot of people are realizing, like, for me, he has the greatest basketball life ever. Like, it can, what he did in high school, in college, and in pros will never be duplicated because he lost 3 times in high school. He lost, I think it was twice in college, 1 or 2 times in college, and then we all know his NBA career. And a quick story about Kareem, when he was Lou Alcindor, was that back, as you guys know, back in the 60s and 70s, freshmen weren't allowed to play, which is, which
Right.
is ridiculous. How you
Or
see how,
dunk.
well, yeah, and a lot of that is because of Kareem, of Lou Alcindor at the time. So when the UCLA, his freshman year, they won undefeated and won a national championship. They scrimmaged the freshman team,
Yeah.
which had Kareem, and they lost.
Yeah. I remember
And
that.
so
Or I heard about it.
and so the story goes is that UCLA was the best team in the entire country except on campus because they lost to Lou Alcindor.
That's ridiculous.
That's how good Kareem
Yeah.
Abdul-Jabbar was. Like, that's what people don't realize,
Yeah.
is just that his basketball life, it's be it can't be touched. I know
Yeah.
it's the greatest lifetime a basketball player has ever had, from high school to
Yeah.
college to pro. Like, Kareem can make the argument, I'm the greatest high school basketball player ever, I'm the
Mhm.
greatest college basketball player, and I'm the greatest professional basketball player ever.
Yeah.
And if he went to Europe, he would be considered the greatest European basketball player ever.
Yeah.
And so I think he gets a bad rap because, as you saw in the episode, and I thought they did a really good job about how mature he was to make those decisions. Like, people forget, we all remember the legendary summit that was held in Cleveland, that famous photo with Muhammad Ali, Jim
Right.
Brown, and Bill Russell. Kareem was 18. Like, Kareem was he was a child,
Wow.
like, and he was there because those guys understood, yeah, this kid is young in age, but he's not young in wisdom.
Yeah.
And for him to have the foresight, to have the courage, think about that. When he was arguing with Magic, right, about like going through his resume pretty much, and he said, I wouldn't want a gold medal, but there's things more important than
Yeah.
winning. And then you realize, like, Kareem wants to win, but Kareem understands that there's a bigger purpose in life.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm really appreciative. Like, he's a great writer today. Like,
Mhm.
if
Yeah.
anybody has any time, read his blogs. Like, it is unbelievable writing. And I'm happy that he's opened up a lot more because, as you see, and as you've seen throughout this entire 5 episodes so far, that's an accurate description of Kareem.
Yeah.
He was aloof, he was distant, he was quiet. He kind of didn't want to be bothered. He literally just
Yeah.
wanted to come in, as he told McKenna. He's like, I'm gonna score 30 points, grab 10 rebounds, and then I'm gonna lead the team to victory. And then
Yeah.
McKinney grabs the box score, and he looks at it. He goes 30 points, 10
Yeah.
rebounds, and he hit the game winning shot. And then and the disbelief on, like, he's like, the son of a gun said this in the locker
Yeah.
room. Paul West is like, what are you talking about? And so I was very appreciative that Kareem gets, I think, swept under the rug because of Magic and Dr. Buzz and Pat Riley. Those are really powerful, charismatic personalities. And
Right.
I think Kareem probably enjoyed it. I think Kareem enjoyed the fact that he can kind of like be in the shadows. No one can bother him. Allow these other people to enjoy the limelight, and I get to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
But I think from a topic of conversation, I think he finally is getting the rightful amount of respect and praise, or as we say today, people are giving him his flowers.
Mhm.
And so I'm really appreciative that that they highlighted the episode, focusing mainly on him and really focusing on just the, like what the title is, the pieces of a man. and how he wasn't what we thought on the outside, right? Like almost like a robotic figure that didn't have emotions, that didn't really that was stoic, that looked like he didn't care. He did care. He did care, and he was thoughtful, and he had a lot of different opinions, and he had a lot of different beliefs, and so I was really appreciative that he was finally getting, because he's a huge part of this dynasty, whether Magic gets all the credit or not. Without Kareem, there is no Showtime.
100%.
And it's just
Absolutely.
and it's just a fact. So I know it took 5 episodes, but I think this episode really hit home.
Yeah.
I think it was almost a really good way to kind of almost recenter the viewer, saying like, yeah, this is like over the top, this is glitz and glamour, this is kind of like what the exaggerated version of what this is. But then this episode kind of grounded us about the reality of what went on in the 60s, and what this young kid, this 18, 19, 20-year-old kid made real life, real grown-up decisions in a time where it was probably the most chaotic and turmoil this nation has ever been. Yeah. And he was in the forefront of trying to be progressive and be part of a movement to help move us forward to where we are today.
Yeah. Listen, I don't like the whole GOAT conversation in general, because I think it's kind of silly, but if you got to pick one, I've been very vocal, and I got the receipts. Kareem is my GOAT. In absolutely every way, shape, or form on the court. He did things that were just unbelievable. You referenced that scene when he was, rattling off his resume to Magic, and he said, you won 1, I won 3 in college. Yeah. And my first thought was, he won 3 because that's all they let you have, and you brought that up too. Yeah. He would have won 4. He
would have won 4. Yeah,
there's no doubt. There's no doubt. He beat the team that won his freshman year. So, I mean, just head and shoulders above everybody else in terms of what he accomplished. And to dive deeper into who the man was, was pretty amazing. This was an interesting episode for me personally, because, every other one I always talk about how, don't meet your heroes kind of thing, because I've been finding out things, I didn't know, and it was kind of sad to know about some of these guys. Today was none of that, really. I found out something about Spencer Haywood I wish I didn't know. I'll be honest, about that. Yeah, I could have gone without knowing that. I didn't know it before, and I'm sorry I know it now, and I'll probably be Googling later just to verify. But aside from that, nothing learned today. It was just nostalgia, man, for me.
Yeah.
We've been talking about that San Diego game, for multiple episodes, and here it was. Yeah. And I was so disappointed. I'll be straight with you guys. And it's the littlest thing, but Kareem shot that hook from the left corner, not the right.
Yeah.
And it bugged me.
Yeah.
I don't know why it bugged me, but it bugged me. But everything else was just so amazing. I mean, diving into Kareem was to me, the highlight of the episode, because this is like a man who, Derek, you brought it up, over the last few years, maybe decades, as he started to write books and become a little bit more, open about who he is, has started to open up, and we're learning a little bit more about him. But who he was then, it was just a big mystery. All you heard about was, he, exactly like what y'all said, he was distant and not particularly nice to reporters. And so being able to dive deeper into who he was and why he was that way, I thought was pretty powerful. Thought it was really powerful, really. The scene where he was having a crisis of faith, and Evan, you touched on this, and every person goes through something like that, and he went to the mosque and kind of got some clarity. I thought it was so powerful. And it just, it reminds you that these guys, and again, forgive me for repeating, but Derek, what you said, he's not a robot, right? He comes off like that because he will get you the 30 and 10, right? That sky hook is automatic, and he doesn't smile. But there was so much more to him, and I really appreciated just learning it from from somebody who got to appreciate the robotic side, for lack of a better way, putting it, being able to dive deeper into who he was and why. It was really cool to me. The end was shocking. We all knew it was coming, but watching they play out the way they played it out.
Yeah.
And Evan,
I was
and
very surprised.
You're right.
Yeah, I was very surprised.
And watching the skid marks, and it's like, oh my gosh.
I was telling Jack not to get on the bike.
Yeah, I know.
Don't go.
It feels like we were in a horror movie, and we know if they open the door, something bad's about to happen.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
don't open the door.
Exactly.
Don't open. Jack, just don't get on the bike. Don't get on the bike, please. Please, just go with your wife. Just go with your wife. Just go with your wife.
So hard to watch, man, for me.
Yeah.
But I obviously I think it sets the table for what comes next. The one thing I learned, I think, in this episode that I thought, that I didn't really know before. I knew Kareem, was older, but they kind of hinted in this episode that he was close to giving up. He was close to being done. He said that I guess his portfolio had shrunk a little bit because of a recession, and he wanted one more year. He thought he'd be have enough money, but now he might have to play a little bit more. I didn't know, and I don't know how true that is, but how close Kareem was to retiring, and obviously this season lit a fire under him because he played I think about 10 more years.
And that's the insane part. He ends up playing 10 more years. Like, he's contemplating. He wins the league MVP this season. He wins the league MVP this year, and he's contemplating retirement, and then he plays another decade.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I don't know if it was a change of heart. I don't know if it was. I think the series is gonna let us know, like, maybe Magic finally broke through, and we kind of saw it this episode, like the beginning stages of Magic breaking through, like him passing to Kareem instead of a wide open Jamal Wilkes, which, by the way, Jack McKinney, what a great dial-up. He called it right. He called it right because he said Jamal's going to be wide open in the corner. And guess what happened? Jamal Wilkes was wide open in the corner, and Magic threw it to Kareem because he was trying to be a leader by saying, if I pass it to Kareem, I think Kareem's going to trust me, that no matter what, I'm always going to have his back, that I'm not going to be the teacher's pet, so to speak. And that getting that relationship with Kareem, building that relationship with Kareem and bringing him towards the team is only going to make us better. If I throw it to Jamal Wilkes and Jamal makes the shot, Kareem walks off the court pissed, and then the whole team's like, why are you upset? And then that division and that tension is just going to keep eating away at the team. And that's why they would have never won, because that style of tension eats away at you. And if you're not rowing in the same direction, eventually you're going to lose to teams that are all rowing in the same direction, even if they are inferior from a talent perspective.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And to me, that's honestly the biggest takeaway about this show overall. We're seeing things go left when they could have gone right. Jerry Buss just gambling. He could have lost everything, but somehow he gets to buy the team. Showtime, works out. Kareem, was looking to retire, then he doesn't. The coin flip is the ultimate, right? Yeah. It could have gone left or right, and everything went right, man. Mm-hmm. And it gave us, Showtime. But it could have all gone backwards, man.
Yeah. Magic saying too. If that was true, that Magic was really considering going back to college, that's another thing. That because they were not going to get the number one pick. They only got the number one pick because of the Gail Goodrich trade, which people forget. Like it wasn't like they had a bad season. It was because they got the number one pick because of a trade they made. They traded Gail Goodrich to the Jazz. That's how they got the number one pick. So that's why I think Jerry Buss realized that he's like, this is my one chance to get this guy. Because if this is not like we are bad enough that we're going to get another crack at this kid maybe next year,
Right.
and maybe we'll get another chance at a coin flip. Like, no, like, we're not going to, this is it. It's either he comes and we make history, or he leaves and then he's on another team that the following year.
Yeah.
And it's just a reality. And so like that, like you said, like there's so many right turns that could have went left, and we are looking at it completely differently.
Yeah.
Big time.
And we wouldn't be talking about the 17 championships. We might be
Nope.
talking about, the 7 or 8 or whatever, from Minneapolis. It is crazy. It really is wild. This is just a riveting story. And I'm just having a great time watching it, having a great time talking about it with you all. Let's turn our focus now to episode 6. It's called Memento Mori, Mori. What do you see coming? Evan, you go first.
Oh gosh. Well, obviously, it's the main thing is going to be the takeover of Westhead.
Sure.
That's, because the obvious cliffhanger that they gave us, and that was so sad. I'm, not only was it sad to see that happen to Jack, but I really like the actor that's playing Jack. So like
100%.
Seeing him go away too is just like, it was sad too for that respect. So, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see Paul take over because, he's kind of not quite ready for it yet. And he's going to want to change things too. And that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
And so, that's what I'm looking forward to in the next episode.
Yeah. Derek, what do you see moving forward?
Yeah. So I think now it's very hard, like seeing like Paul Westhead is very, very shy, very in the background, very soft spoken. Like that scene where Jerry West comes in, he talks to Jack, and then he's trying to talk to Jerry West, and Jerry West ignores him, and Paul West is literally just talking to himself, trying to like playing out the conversation with Jerry West. Like, oh, you're doing a great job this year as an assistant coach, and you're like this guy's gonna lead the team to the title, like that's the thing, and also too, I want to see how the conversation is between him and Pat Riley of how he convinces Pat Riley to come to the booth. Does he convince him, or does it Pat Riley go to him and say, hey, like, you need an assistant coach, I want to be on the staff? Does that happen? And also too, I just want to see, like, I'm very fascinated with the dynamic between Magic and Kareem, right? Like, what's very fascinating, because I was thinking about this watching the episode. So, like, we know the division between Shaq and Kobe that happened. We now know, thanks to Scottie Pippen, the division him and Jordan have.
Yeah.
We've known, if people were around or people do their homework, the division between Larry Bird and Kevin McHale at the end was really paramount. Like, you see, not all co-superstars, great 1-2 punches really coexist well, except it seems like Magic and Kareem. Now in this episode, we saw like they had their boiling point, like they had their big confrontation. So I want to see how that relationship is. Is it still rocky? Does Kareem start to warm up to Magic? Does Magic start taking a more vocal role in the locker room with the team, or does he still say, hey, that's Cap, that's his team, we're going to follow him, understanding that maybe deep down inside he feels like he's not ready to take over the team?
Yeah. Clearly, I mean, that's where they're headed. The way this episode ended. I remember Westhead as a coach. I mean, that was, I've said before that, this whole era happened as I was becoming a self-aware human being. I don't remember McKinney much. I remember the games, certainly the Clipper game. But Westhead is the first coach I remember watching. And I remember, something happening, which I've alluded to before in earlier episodes, where he tried to turn McKinney's offense on its head a little bit. He tried to go even more crazy, doing things that we see in the NBA today with guards, setting low post picks and stuff. but Norm Nixon, as a 6'1" traditional point guard, didn't like being down in the low post, banging with the likes of, Dave Cowens or, I can't think of anybody else, Nate Thurmond off the top of my head. And that was part of why, he ended up getting moved on. At least that was what I remember. So it'll be really interesting now, to kind of in the next episode, hopefully see what I remember, what I always thought was factual, and to see how, how close to facts it was. So I'm excited, to see that and to, continue to see this team evolve. All right. We do this every episode. It might be a little harder this one because the focus was on Kareem, but we're still asking the question. Evan, who was your winner in tonight's episode 5? And do you have a favorite scene? Doesn't have to include your winner, but do you have a favorite scene overall?
Gotcha. Yeah. My winner for this is Kareem because it was focus was on him, and it was cool to see the focus on him. And but my favorite scene was actually a funny little one that we haven't talked about yet. Was where Jerry Buss is there and being shown the Laker girls for the first time, and with a modern dance choreographer, and he's just kind of not feeling it, and just come on, I want these girls to dance a little sexier. And then one of the girls starts dancing a little sexier, and it was really funny to me because I was like, oh, I know who that is. That's Paula. So yeah, that was my favorite scene of the night.
Yeah, great scene. Nothing else to add, man. Derek, you got first off, who's your winner, and do you have a favorite scene?
So I agree with Evan. I think the winner of this episode is Kareem, but I'm gonna throw a dark horse winner. He did not get a lot of airtime, but when he was in this episode, he was unbelievable. And that's Spencer Hayward. He came in, and he stole the show. Even when I want people to understand, this is played out in 1980, right? 1979, 1980. He's talking about Kobe Bryant and LeBron James about how they went one and done. They went straight out of high school, and it was a great history lesson for everybody who did not know about. He was the first one to come straight out of high school and take the NBA to court and win, so that they allow guys who can come straight out of high school, because Moses Malone famously did that as well. Mm-hmm. It was such a groundbreaking thing that he does not get the credit that he was actually the first one to do it. And then all the crazy stories, all the crazy Spencer Hayward stories. It's almost like he was a little bit like Dennis Rodman before Dennis Rodman. This feels like the precursor. This feels like Spencer Hayward was the Dennis Rodman of the 70s, where he came into the locker room and you're just like, you think about it, when Jerry West, said we can get Spencer Hayward, what's the first thing McKinnon said? He goes, is his head on straight? Because I don't need a superstar, I need a role player. Right. And so right there, it wasn't about ability, it was about mentality. And then he walks in, and this is how I knew he was going to win the episode. Kareem likes him. Kareem came in and he hugged Kareem, and all of the Lakers
people
were shocked. They're like, Kareem just hugged somebody? That's why I was just like, hey, that's how Spencer Hayward's my winner. Spencer Hayward's my winner.
Yeah.
And then my favorite scene
was all because of the. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was going to say that bond was all because of him standing up and being the groundbreaker. That was Kareem admired that in him, and that was the big reason they had that bond. So anyway, didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry.
No. I love that because you're absolutely right. Think about that. Kareem didn't smile, didn't show emotions to any of those Laker teammates, and then the second Spencer Hayward walks in, he's like, my brother, because Kareem respects and loves people who who are selfless and are willing to fight for things that are really important. And then my favorite scene, or the best scene, it was a small scene, and I don't know how true it was, but I thought it was absolutely hilarious. They got Kobe Bryant in. They were like, well, Joe Jellybean Bryant is guarding Magic on the inbound, and then they do an unbelievable is like, and his son Kobe Bean Bryant is, yeah, Kobe. That's such a weird name. And then it cuts to a baby Kobe crying, and then the caption goes, it freezes, and the caption goes, "Put me in, coach." which to me is so funny. Knowing his rookie year, that's why he hated Del Harris with a burning passion, because Del Harris refused to put him in the games. So I thought that was a great like foreshadowing, where you go, hey, Magic's gonna be this generation's icon franchise Laker player, and then the next one is literally in the stands for the first ever NBA game. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked a little bit about that, Evan and I, before we started the show. Not sure if it was necessarily true.
It definitely was
shoehorned in.
Right.
Yeah, it was 100% a shoehorn. It was definitely 100%. The writers were in the room and they were just like, "Hey,
what if?"
No, what if? Yeah, it's like, wait, where did Kobe? Does Kobe dad play in the league? Yeah, he did. What team was that? Oh, he did play for the San Diego Clippers that year. You know what? Let's try to shoehorn him in.
Why not?
Why not?
It was a great connection. Yeah. Laker, present, Laker future. I loved it. I thought it was cool. My knee jerk was go, oh man, that's cheesy. But but I get it.
If it's real, that is pretty cool. If he really was there, that's pretty cool.
Insane.
If he really was there. So like I'm curious. I want to kind of look into that and find out if that really happened or not.
Yeah, because
the possibility is there.
Yeah,
we just don't know. We don't know for sure.
That's true. The great Kobe, who's right there. Listen, Kareem was a winner. I'm not gonna go, left when y'all went right. Clearly, this episode was about him. He was the winner of the episode. I do have to call out. We got the first glimpse of Brad Holland, who I enjoyed at UCLA. The Lakers drafted him because he was a three-point shooter, and the three-point shot had just come into the league, if not that year, the year before. So they brought him in to shoot threes, and he was horrible at it in the pro game. But it was fun seeing Brad Holland, just the back of his name, his jersey. Jim Chones, another player I really enjoyed watching, who was referenced today. But yeah, this was Kareem's episode. Hands down, for me, the scene that stuck with me was that scene at the mosque, man, where Kareem was just struggling, and he got some clarity. I just thought that was powerful. It was human, and it was neat. I don't know how else to word it. It was just a really, really fun episode too. Well, I shouldn't say fun scene. It was a powerful scene that stuck with me. So that definitely my scene of the episode, and that was my winner. All right, man. Wow, great episode. I think we got some good stuff coming up, but that'll do it. That's our recap of episode 5. As always, thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week to recap episode 6. Hope to see you all again then. Thank you. Thank you, guys.